Yep, we're going.
It's really going? All right.
Yeah.
You both stay live?
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty sure. I think so.
All right, you guys. We are live here on the Brush by Brandy Facebook page and over on my YouTube channel. My name is Brandy, and I'm the owner and artist behind Brush by Brandy. We have a special guest behind the camera tonight.
Oh, yeah.
You want to introduce yourself?
Maybe.
Yeah, probably not. It's my fairly quiet and not talkative son, Noah. Yep. So he is going to help us out tonight. Sean is taking the night off. He's, I don't know, on vacation.
Yep.
Yeah, Brush by Brandy has an awesome vacation plan. He is actually driving our children around. We could not figure out how to make the month of May work without me getting help from a child instead. And since my child is yet to get his driver's license.
Okay, stop.
He has a permit. He hasn't had his permit for long enough to be eligible, so it's not for lack of trying. He just isn't there yet. He's not even old enough, actually, technically.
That's so mean.
Yeah, to be able to get the license part. So we are going to, tonight, I just made a post, we are going to talk about brushes tonight. But the first thing I want to get started with is actually, I have a project coming up, and I'm going to do this on camera with you guys just because I need to do it. So I'm going to start out with this, but it actually kind of segues into the brush topic. I'm going to strip this drawer down. This is a piece of furniture that I picked up recently, and it's just got thick latex paint on it, and it's chipping and peeling. I'm going to strip it all back and see what's underneath. I have a feeling there's a couple surprises under here for me, like old hardware holes, so I probably won't be able to put it back to wood, but I don't know. We'll see what's underneath. So let's strip this drawer first. I'm going to use Greenie's cleaner, and we'll brush this on, and then in the end of my live, I should be able to come back and strip this off. My best tip for putting on stripper is to use a natural bristle brush, and this is one that I use over and over for stain and stripper and all kinds of nasty stuff, so it's just beat up, but it works for brushing on my stripper and everything. And that is because some strippers will eat at synthetic bristle brushes, because especially the harsh chemical strippers, they will eat at your good brushes. So I'm using this super crusty old brush, and I'm going to brush this on.
That looks boring.
Yeah, this part is not the most exciting. This is an eco-friendly stripper, so it's a green stripper. It does not burn your skin. It doesn't have an offensive odor. It is soybean oil based. So it's pretty, you should still use it in a well-ventilated space, but for an eco-friendly stripper, Greenie's is surprisingly effective. A lot of people want to talk about Citrus Strip. Citrus Strip I do not think is an effective stripper at all. I actually use it more like a cleaner than I do as a stripper. You can use it to clean like hardware sometimes, or stencils if you get paint stuck on them, because it's so gentle it doesn't really do a whole lot of anything. I'm going to put some of this on the edge of this drawer too. All right, and then this will stay super gross and crusty, this brush, and I just will, I mean, I'm not kidding you, I literally throw it on the floor. That's how I store that brush.
So clean.
Yeah, it's just one brush that's always floating around on the floor. It's a super cheap chip brush, and I use it 1,000 times, and then I throw it away eventually. All right,
thank you, Tracy.
So we're gonna let that marinate. Yeah, you guys say hi to Noah. Noah's my 16-year-old is behind the camera tonight, and he's manning the camera while Sean is on child duty tonight.
Apparently I'm just as fun as my dad.
He's much quieter than Sean, I'll say that. He's Sean in high school though. Sean literally made a copy of himself from 30 years ago. Okay, so I told you we were going to talk about brushes. If I come over here, can you see, or do you need to move the camera?
We'll move this one.
All right. You guys give Noah feedback if there's something you want to see up close, or if he's too far away or anything, just scream at him. He likes that. He responds well to it.
Yeah, I guess, whatever.
And we're going to go through my brush drawer. So this is my workbench here. I'll shut these. And I keep my brushes in 2 drawers. This one here and this one. It used to just be 1 drawer, but it has since expanded to 2. And the way that I have them separated in here is, this top drawer is tools. So this top drawer is like wood graining tools. This is my redesign of Prima scraper. My brayer is in here. Decoupage tools. What else do I have in here? Bowl scrapers. What else? I don't know, texture tools, trowels in here. So this top drawer is just little tooly thingies. And then this is synthetic bristle brushes, which are by far my most used. That's why they're up on top. And then down below is natural bristle brushes. So we're going to start with the synthetic bristle brushes, and I'm going to go through these and just pull them out kind of one by one and talk about what I would use each one for. We won't get through like every brush on the planet. There's literally so many out there, but I'll show you what I use the most, and some of the more odd ones that you might not think about what they're for. We'll talk about those. So the easiest one for me is what I have on the top of my drawer. It's on the top because it's my most used, and that's my Klingon S50 brush. I use these a lot. I did drill out the handle of mine so that I could put this leather cordage on here so that I can hang them when they dry. And I use these a lot. I like how they fit in my hand. It's a what's that, probably a 2-inch. Is that a 2-inch? Yeah, that looks like a 2-inch.
Yeah, that looks like close enough.
Yeah, that's a 2-inch brush. So what I use a flat brush for is for a lot of furniture purposes. When you're laying on paint and you need to lay it on to a flat, smooth surface, these are great. The bristles on these are synthetic bristles, which means that they are made of nylon. Nylon is the easiest to clean synthetic bristle for a brush, synthetic fiber. They do have some polyester in there. Polyester is slightly harder to clean, but it does add a little bit of firmness to the brush. So these have a nylon and a polyester bristle, and this white part at the end, it's got a split tip on it, which means the edges are a little bit frayed, so they're not so blunt. And so it gives me a nice soft bristle on the brush. Let me see if I've got something that doesn't have a split tip on it.
You going to Temecula anytime soon, or?
It's possible. Pay attention.
I think Debbie said you were from Palm.
Oh, are you talking to Palm? I mean, I would trust Palm on that, but I just can't publicly say anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not it's in the works. I don't have any concrete information to share, and that's the only reason I can't say for sure one way or another. So just keep paying attention and trust Palm. She owns Redesign with Prima, so she usually is fairly knowledgeable.
Pretty smart.
Yeah. So I can't find one that doesn't have split tip bristles on it, but it softens the tip of the bristle so the paint lays on a little bit smoother. Now Klingon brushes, they actually recommend to store them wet. And the reason is, even when you clean a brush, there will still be some paint residual that remains in the brush. Even your best cleaning, it's really easy to leave just a super small residue of paint in the brush. So by storing these wet, you can actually take a magnet and you can magnet these to a bucket. You can hang them into water. So if I had this and just left the tips, not up to the metal, but just the tips sitting in a little bit of water, and it will continuously run out any paint that might be still left in the brush. So they will continue to self-clean. And you'll be surprised if you own Klingon brushes, after you clean them, sometimes I will test myself, but let it sit in water and then watch the little bit of residue that will still continue to come out of the brush. If you just hang the edge of the tips in a little bit of water, it will continue to pull the paint out of the brush. And it's a really cool thing to see. And you can test your brush cleaning skills too to see, are you getting all that paint, the little bit of residue that can get left up here in the bristles. So they actually recommend storing them wet. I do store them dry because I usually paint with a dry brush. But I will sometimes let them sit wet for longer than after their initial cleaning, or if I feel like they're getting a little bit more buildup than usual, then I will give them that really thorough cleaning and let them sit in that little bit of water to brush all the soap out. Sometimes the crustiness can be from soaps in your bristles too. So you can store these wet, but this is absolutely my favorite brush. I like the shorter handle. It fits really nicely in my hand. That's just a personal preference. And then the 2-inch sash brush just lays paint on smoothly. It's also full enough that I can blend with this, so it is a good blending brush. I like a nice full and soft brush for blending. And synthetic bristles are what I use. So that's what you're going to find on the top of this drawer. The most of these brushes are the Klingon S50. So I'm going to take these right off the top because that is my by far most used brush. The S50 also comes in an angle brush, and this one's slightly less full. Let me show you the edges of these next to each other. It's just a slightly less full brush, but I like that this has a little bit more precision to it. So when you're doing clear coats, for example, you don't need this full of a brush. I also like this for when I want to cut in on edges because it's got that nice chisel to it. So if you want to cut in on edges, that chisel really helps with that. So this is just a little bit more precision version, but also very soft, same type of bristles, same type of handle. That's just the chiseled version of the S50. So still very, very, very much one of my most used brushes. I have a massive collection of these, and I'll tell you guys why. So if you watch me do blending, and this is the brush that I like to use. I actually, in the year that I used a variety of brands, I tested all their brushes also. And so after testing a whole bunch of brushes, I had to find a new brush that I like to use. And this ended up being what I favored the most, what I was the most comfortable with. I find with brushes, your favorite brush is what you're the most used to. So I had to break habits and learn how to hold stuff and how much paint do you put in a brush. And just learning how to make something my new favorite. But what's your favorite brushes is going to be what you're the most comfortable using, what you've used the most. You can always change that though if you want to try something different. And it ended up being the Klingon brushes. When I'm blending, I use a brush for each color. So imagine if I'm doing a 4-color blend, I need 4 brushes. Well, then I also like a dry neutral brush for blending. Sometimes these might be being washed from my first coat, and I need a second set to do the second coat with. This is no joke, you guys. This is how I clean brushes. And I may end up using this many brushes on one piece. That's for convenience, because obviously I know this is a huge luxury to have this many brushes. I could let the first set completely dry and come back and use them again. I could also paint with a wet brush, but I much prefer blending with a dry brush. I just like the softness of the results. Adding moisture that might be in your brush can add moisture to your blending and make, you just have to change the process a little bit. So for my habits, I like a dry brush, but one piece of furniture, I mean, that's just a 4-color blend. Could take this many brushes. So don't judge, guys. It's like I'm opening up my dirty closet here.
Random question.
Yeah.
Have you ever done a piece where you've gone light down to dark at the very bottom?
I mean, if you can think of any combination, I usually do dark at the bottom. That's usually my preference. Honestly, I light at the bottom is what I do less often. But I have pieces both ways. If you want to see an example, you're welcome to message me and I can dig through I don't know what I have on my phone at this point, like 16,000 photos, I think it's up to. Yeah, probably. But I can dig through them and find you examples if you're looking for a particular example of something. Absolutely, it's in there. The other thing I do with my favorite brushes, well, first let me say the difference between a good quality brush. This is the first Klingon I ever owned. I can tell because the handle is old. The new ones have a black handle. This has the old beige handle on it. A good quality synthetic bristle brush has longevity to it. When I first started painting, I started out using Wooster shortcut brushes. These are a hardware store brand, right? Everybody knows what these look like in the hardware store. This is actually the one that I prefer. This is a different type of bristle on it. They're absolutely fine. They're totally fine. These are like $5, $6 brushes. I don't know. They probably inflation. They're probably like $29.
Yeah, now it's like $50.
Yeah, yeah. So I will sell you this one for $50. Okay. So these are great little brushes, but what I found with them is I had to replace them far more often than I've ever had to replace a good quality brush. They just don't clean as well. The quality of the bristles is probably a little lower, and that's why they are available at the price point that they are. So I would say if you are doing 1 or 2 pieces casually, you just want to paint a nightstand, you're not going to be painting every day. I literally paint every day. Then these are great brushes for a project or 2. If you're going to be doing 30 of them, you're gonna roll through 5 of these. So you might as well buy a nice quality brush at that point if you're going to be a habitual painter. It's the longevity of them. But otherwise, I mean, these are, let's see.
But you prefer to blend with the Klingon?
I much prefer to blend with the Klingon. My 2 favorite brushes, to blend with, I'll show you guys right now, are these two right here. So this guy for laying my paint on, which is the S50, and this guy for blending it out. I like the fullest, softest brush I can get for blending my paint out. This is the Klingon, this is the B12 brush. It has a handle, but this one, I have the handle taken off. Although I did come across it tonight, digging through my brushes. So
What? Fireball Jude is here?
Hey,
That's
Fireball
crazy.
Jude. So I like this for blending the paint out. It's about as big and soft of a brush as you're going to get. I mean, it's a giant block brush. Block brushes are really nice for blending with. So these two have become what I use all the time. One of these for each color, one of these for blending it out. But we'll come back to this drawer in just a minute. Okay, so let me come back up here. Let's talk about a long handle brush. What's the difference between this and a short handle brush? It could be in just how you hold it. The other time I like to pull out a long handle brush is if my paint containers are getting low. Sometimes with these, if I'm going into a quart of paint, you can see how if I have to get down to the bottom, I end up with my hand in the paint. And using a long handle brush, absolutely, these are super nice to have because I can get down into a quart without putting my fingers into the paint. So sometimes I pull out this, and the texture of the bristles and the shape is pretty similar. This is the F40, F as in Frank. This is my favorite of the flat Klingon brushes. My most used long handle brush is the F as in Frank 40. And for that reason, because I like to have a long handle option, I also like that this is a slightly skinnier brush. So sometimes if I'm doing a smaller project, would be, you know, a jewelry armoire, a jewelry box, just a little nightstand. Maybe I don't need this large of a brush. These are really big when I get into jewelry boxes, and I will tend to pull out the smaller flat brushes like the F30 and the F40. Okay, so the numbers indicate the size. The 30 is going to be just a slightly smaller brush. What's that, a 1 inch? And this looks like a 1.5. And then when you get up to the F50, that's probably a 2 inch. Of course, I can't find one. That's another 40. That's another 40. Oh, here we go. Here's an F50. And you can see them side by side and look at the width. So the number is going to indicate what the width of the brush is. But all very similar bristles to the S50, but on a long handle brush. Okay, so for these would be flat surfaces, laying on a smooth, even coat. I usually just fill my brush. The white tips of the bristles is usually a good guide for how deep you need to dip your brush into your paint. You should never be dipping your brush into your paint all the way, you know, almost up to the metal. With the Klingon brushes, the other thing I like is that the bristles are held in with resin inside the metal. So sometimes when you get to cheaper brushes like, where was that? My hardware store brush. Okay. Sometimes when you get into cheaper brushes, you're going to find glue up in the handles. I'm not saying that this one for sure has glue. I honestly don't know. But some of them just have glue holding it in. And when you put that into water over and over and over again, the glue will start to soften and you'll start to lose bristles. With a synthetic bristle brush, you should not often lose bristles. You might lose a few. That's just part of the manufacturing process. But after you work those out, you should always wash your brushes when you first get them and work out any loose bristles. And after that, there's resin holding these into the handle. So even, you can see it here, it's exposed resin on this side. So it holds the handle in itself too. So even if I'm dipping this into water over and over and over again, it's never going to loosen up resin, but it will loosen a glue base. And you can start having damage to your brushes. So long handle brushes are what you're going to find next as my second most used. Here's an option similar to that wedge brush that I showed you on the S50. It's got a chisel on there, and that would be for cutting into edges, getting into corners. The tip of those bristles will get into corners.
Do you know if any of these brushes are on special or anything?
These are all, usually the brushes, no. Every once in a while you might find some sales through retailers, but usually they're pretty standard in their pricing. A good quality synthetic bristle brush, they're going to be in the $30 to $40 range for the most part. That's a pretty common price point. When you get up into some of the really big brushes like these guys here, they're going to be pricier than that.
What,
so,
like $200?
No.
Oh, it's expensive.
No, not $200, but in the like $40 to $50 range. Let's talk about a round brush. When would you choose a round brush? This is also synthetic bristles. This is also a Klingon brush, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the strings that are on here. Stahlmeister also does strings on their brushes, and you don't ever want to cut the strings off. They're meant to hold your bristles in shape to keep that round shape on your bristles. So sometimes people will think, oh, it's just part of the packaging, and they will cut the strings off, but those are supposed to be a permanent part of your brush. And they're just there to hold the shape of it. Here's one that's out of the package from Stahlmeister. Okay, so it just holds that round shape. Round brushes are great for painting things like spindles because they will conform to a round shape. Okay, they'll conform a little bit better than a flat brush. They can also get into texture a little bit better. If you want to do, a lot of people prefer if you paint with sort of a random brush stroke. A round brush can be very nice for that. These are all still really soft synthetic bristle brushes. I actually like the softness of the Stahlmeister also. They're very similar in softness to the Klingon. I would say I like these, equally as well as each other, the Stahlmeister and the Klingon brushes. So it can come down to personal preference, but they're both fabulously soft. I would choose a round brush if I wanted to do more random brush strokes. Whereas this would be my smooth, even, clean brush strokes, which is just my general painting style. So a little bit more randomness to this, or if I need to get into any sort of spindle or round surface, maybe going around some curved molding would be good for this because it's going to reach into some of those places with a little bit of shape to the bristles.
Yeah, Shelly, it's Noah. I took over my dad's job. He's not here for now.
Yeah, we have Noah tonight, you guys. So so you guys can talk everything you wanted to ever say about Sean. You guys can say it tonight.
Oh yeah.
But you can't talk trash on Noah. He will get personally offended. So I gave you the option of the Wooster Shortcut brush as a good hardware store option. Another great hardware store option is the Zebra brushes. Zebra brushes are also a fairly inexpensive hardware store brush. This is their 2-inch chiseled wedge, which again, you can see where I tend to go with my brushes. I like a 2-inch sash brush, and this 2-inch chiseled wedge is this 2-inch sash brush from Zebra. They have a nice soft bristle to them. I would say I don't use Zebra quite as often because I still prefer the Klingon brushes. In as far as longevity, as far as ability to clean, there's definitely a difference there, but absolutely this is a great brush to start with. It's very universal, still very soft. It's going to be in that longevity that I really see the difference in the hardware store brushes. But Zebra makes a beautiful brush. They also have several different shapes. So this is a fan brush from Zebra. I have a lot of their 2-inch chiseled wedges. You can tell that was always my favorite brush of theirs. Try to find some other shapes from Zebra. This is their round brush, so this is going to be your round brush for painting those spindles, curved surfaces like that. You can absolutely use these for other purposes.
Do you like pretty brushes?
Pretty brushes are going to be up there with that hardware store option. So there's a ton of options for pretty brushes. They have tons of shapes. I don't think I even have any in here, actually. It's probably been years since I used a pretty brush. But they have a ton of different options of them and shapes, but they're going to be your hardware store basic brush. Synthetic bristle brushes, most of more polyester than nylon in some of the hardware store options. The nylon bristles are going to be easier to clean. I look for those split tip bristles that are nice and soft at the ends versus the blunt tip. See if I have something. This is, oh man, this one's pretty beat up. This is another Zebra brush. This is their Palm Pro. Mine have been well used, so some of them are discolored by now. So they have a whole bunch of different shapes. Purdy, Wooster, Zebra, all going to be kind of in that hardware store price point. Great starter brushes, but as I painted more, I started seeing the benefits of having a really nice brush collection. All right, we're getting into these guys. Let's talk about these guys. These are premium brushes from Wise Owl, and I love these. I'll tell you what I use these most for. These are similar options, a larger and a smaller version. This brush here is dedicated to my furniture salve. So that's all I use this for. If I use a brush for an oil, I try not to bring it back and introduce it to a water-based paint later. I will dedicate that to an oil. In this case, I use this for my furniture salve regularly. This would be another option if you prefer to handle on here. This is a palm brush that you hold like this. And I will put the furniture salve into every piece of furniture I do, and I will massage it in, and it's a conditioner. So this, I don't clean this regularly, and I am shocked. I don't want to stick my hand in this right now, but let me find something I can touch this with. Well, I'm shocked at how soft this brush is for as rarely as I clean it, and it sits with the salve in it. You can see I've got oil on my hand now. How soft this brush stays even without cleaning, and it just makes it super easy, light work of putting that conditioner in every single furniture piece. And this would be a great substitute if you preferred a smaller version of the palm brush. This is also a great blending brush here, because remember, I just like a nice full soft bristle brush. So if this didn't have the oil in it, but either of these could be that full brush that I use for blending too.
Apparently we're entertaining Sherry.
Oh, are we? You should see Noah. Noah's mad scientist hair tonight. He's pretty tired. He does water polo like 5 days a week, so he's pretty tired right now.
Pat, these are the Klingon, and the white ones she had out, I think, are the
white ones
brushes.
are zebra. These are zebra brushes. So they are a nice option. Zebras are available at most hardware stores. There's a lot of retailers nationwide too. They are a little bit lower price point than the Klingon brushes. I feel like where I notice the difference is on longevity and cleaning them. So, you know, there's definitely a difference in between a high quality synthetic bristle brush, and this is going to be your midpoint synthetic bristle brush. Probably not, you know, low like Dollar Tree. Like, don't get me wrong, I have some Dollar Tree. You know what I use the Dollar Tree brushes for? For dusting. When I get, I might sand something and I can dust it off, or if I scrape a mirror and I dust the shavings off. This is just a Dollar Tree brush, but I would never paint with this. They're awful for painting. If you want a ton of brush strokes, get your brushes at the Dollar Tree. Like if you like a ton of brush strokes, a ton of texture, Dollar Tree. Right. That's about all I would use that for.
Looks like I'm going to the dollar store.
These are from Rolling Dog. This is another 2-inch chiseled wedge brush, a sash brush. These are available on Amazon, and I like these. These are a nice option for laying on a smooth, even coat also. One thing I look for in my bristles is I don't like a lot of bounce. So if I see it has a lot of bounce in it, that's a firm bristle. So these are a little bit more firm, and I'm going to use that more for clear coat than I would for, say, blending. I like that these just have but not that one. That one's, but they don't have. They're a little just softer and more resilient.
What do you use to clean your brushes?
I have a variety of soaps I use. For the most part, you can get your brush really clean with just water and a brush comb and just brushing the paint out of the bristles. But I like to have a bar soap, which is usually Fell's Naphtha or lava soap, and I'll use that for if I just need a light cleaning, I'll just dust the bristles across the bar to get a little bit of soap into the tips of the bristles, and then I'll brush it out with a brush comb. For when I want to do a heavier, better quality cleaning, I'll use a good quality brush soap. I like Bad Ace brush soap from Wise Owl. It smells great and it conditions your bristles at the same time so they come out very soft. You can also leave them sitting in a little bit of a fabric softener. Will soften up those bristles. So every once in a while I'll do that, like more thorough cleaning and really condition the bristles and get them back nice and soft. Those are going to be the ones that I notice start getting a little wear in them. This is one, shouldn't be in my drawer. It's got a little bit of crustiness to it. Probably has some paint that's gathered in it, starting to lose its shape. So this one I could put in for a really more thorough brush cleaning. I try to keep some brushes, and how I recognize them is these don't have the string on the handle that I use for clear coat, because they're softer and they stay a little bit better quality than when I use them for paint, because the paint ones get beat up primer is even more hard on your brushes. And so that might be a good place where I would pull out a hardware store brush. If I'm just putting on primer, it's very hard on your brushes. It's harder to wash out.
Wait, why are you cleaning them? Isn't Dad supposed to be cleaning them?
Yeah, he says he does, but he does not clean my brushes like he says he does. Every once in a while I can get him to. So my premium brushes from Wise Owl are these guys here with the orange handles. This one here is my favorite. This one right here is my favorite of their premium brushes, and I love this brush for decoupage and clear coat. It's got that chiseled wedge on it. You can see it's much, much skinnier than my Klingon brushes, so it holds less material. So when I want to brush on just a thin, even coat of something, and that could be my decoupage medium, my clear coat, I like a little bit smaller of a brush like this. Same thing with these guys here. They're just a little bit smaller. They hold a great amount of material in them. But this guy is my favorite. That chisel on it and that skinny edge I use for decoupage and clear coats. All right, you guys, this is taking way longer than I thought it would. I have so many brushes. Okay, this guy right here is a really nice option, and I'm going to show you a couple different versions of this, of a similar brush like this.
Would you ever clean your brushes with dish soap?
Every once in a while. Dish soap I use usually for oil-based stuff. I do put it in my brushes. You want to make sure you rinse it out really well, because dish soap is how you get that crustiness in there if you're not rinsing it all the way. So I try not to oversaturate my brushes, and usually they don't need it. For the most part, water will rinse it out, and like Fel's Naphtha is a fabric soap. So I like that because I'm washing synthetic fibers or like a fabric. You know, you can get your clothing is made of nylon and polyester. So so it's a little bit gentler and doesn't leave me that, you know, I get a lot of crustiness, I feel like, when I use dish soap, but I definitely use that for anything I put oil into. So a wax brush, when I wash my salve brush, that would definitely involve Dawn dish soap. It cuts through the oils in there. So these brushes here are a really nice brush to have. These are very, very thin bristles, very thin edges, and these are super soft. Like, these will lay on a really soft, nice clear coat. This is one from Stallmeister. This one's from Posh Chalk. This is another one from Posh Chalk. She has 2 different sizes. These are from Retique, also from Retique, just very soft brushes. The other thing these are good for is you can roll paint on. So say if you're rolling 1 hour enamel and it leaves roller marks like that orange peel texture, well, you can come back with a nice wide brush like this and you can lay off that texture afterwards. So if you prefer the ease of rolling your paint on, then you can lay off paint with this, and just, if you do it at sort of a 45-degree angle and just drag the tips of the bristles through, you'll smooth out that orange peel texture from rolling. These brushes are great for that because you cover a nice wide area with them, and they're super soft and super thin. Clear coats these are good for, but all of these, I would say, whether short handle or longer handle, pretty equal in what they would be used for.
When you are cleaning your brushes, do you use hot water, warm water, or cold water?
Usually warm water. So the warmest that I can tolerate without burning my hand. You know, I think about it like if I'm cleaning my bathroom, I don't clean with cold water. I'm not saying like my brushes have been in the toilet or anything, but like usually when you're cleaning things, when you want to cut through something, warmer water is going to be a little bit more effective. It's also going to dissolve soap a little bit better than cold water. So as warm as I can get it without burning my hands, so it's not super hot that I need gloves or anything like that. This is another Stallmeister brush. That's looks like a 1.5 inch, 1 inch. And so that's got that nice tip on it. I would use this like I would for a flat brush, but a little bit smaller size. I'm gonna try to find some of the odd guys in here. So here's this guy right here is a French tip brush. Let's see, DIY Paint has these, Annie Sloan has these. So the French tip brush has these tipped bristles. Let me find a newer one. Here's one here. It's a pointed sash brush. And the tips of these bristles, when they first come, this one's a little worn down. These are actually natural bristles, so it's in the wrong drawer. But it's got a tip on it that's going to get into a corner. And I think I have these in Stallmeister also makes a tip brush with a synthetic bristle. Synthetic bristles are ideal for laying on the types of paints that we use. But getting in there with that tip, so think about like nightstands when you need to get into that back corner of a nightstand that's got a cubby on it. You got to reach in there so it's got a nice long handle on it. And then the tips of the bristles are going to get up into corners, and you can cut in with it along any crevices that you might need to. Natural bristles are always going to leave a little more texture to them, so I would never use this for painting the full body of a piece, but this is a great brush for cutting in with. This was just a little more worn version of it. Now that it's so worn, this could be a good stencil brush. These are stencil brushes, so we'll come to those in a minute and try to find some oddities. Like this guy here, this would be considered an artist brush. This is from Stallmeister, and it's just a very small, high-quality artist brush, so very soft. One example I do with these is when I want to paint in the edges of drawers. Say I've sprayed it, and I need to cut in along the edges. I'll come back and paint those by hand with an artist brush, and that's a very soft, nice quality artist brush that's going to give me a smooth coat that will match the sprayed body. If I need to cut in the edges of a drawer, I'll use that. That's a bigger size, so usually, you know, drawer edges say 1/2 inch, and that's going to give me good coverage for the size of it. Let's see what other types of brushes I have in here. Some of these are just straight out in the wrong drawer.
Where do you get what is that? The Stallmeister?
Fusion sells Stallmeister brushes, and there's retailers nationwide. Yeah, a lot of these don't belong in this drawer. Let's see. Okay, trying to see what else I have down at the bottom of my drawer here. We're getting to natural bristle brushes that are kind of sitting in the bottom of my drawer. Odd shape brushes. There's one I wanted to show you that I haven't come across yet. Here's that pointed brush with the synthetic bristle on it. So this would be cutting into those corners in, say, cubbies and hard to reach places. Also with that long handle, but with a soft synthetic bristle on it. This is from Stallmeister. The red bristles are from Stallmeister.
Do you like Pointer brushes, or I don't know how to pronounce that.
Can you spell it?
Couture.
Paint Couture brushes, I have a couple, but I don't use the Paint Couture brand a whole lot, so I don't have a ton of experience with them. For the most part, a lot of brands like, here's a Country Chic brush. This one was a little too big and it's a little too heavy for me. So it just didn't feel right in my hand. It's not quite as soft as my Klingon brushes. So there was usually a reason why I kind of kept coming back to something or the other. And this is a great, beautiful quality brush. It just was a, personal preference thing in it. Is I tried it and it wasn't as good as something else for my particular painting style. So there's a ton of different brands out there. Most paint brands have their own brand of brushes. Let's see who makes this one. This is Two Chicks and a Tool Belt. So this is their brush. This has a very coarse bristle on it. So this might be something I would pull out more for waxing than I would for painting. Just a very coarse bristle. Could also be good for texture. But as far as, laying paint on, I probably wouldn't choose a coarse bristle brush like this, even though this is a synthetic bristle brush.
Where do you get most of your larger brushes from?
Klingon is carried by Wise Owl, and that was one of the reasons that I chose to use Wise Owl paint. Is I was looking for where I could find most everything I wanted in one place, and that's for convenience for my followers. When I put up a tutorial with a materials list, people want to go shopping and be able to find as much as they can in one place. If I have to send them to 7 different websites to get all the materials, by then they probably checked out. So I tried to find where you could get the stuff that I really liked, and they had my favorite brushes, which were the Klingon brushes. They had my favorite primer. Their primer is stain blocking and odor blocking. You can get stuff like the stripper that I used in one place. They've got an all-in-one style paint with 1 hour enamel, also a chalky paint, and the chalky paint was highly blendable. So it was like, checking boxes for me with brands and who had the most boxes that I could check in a single place. So, that was kind of what I was looking for, was also looking for my followers is where can I get the most things that I enjoy using and all in one place for convenience for people to do their shopping. So since we're running heavy on time, I'm going to run down here to my natural bristle brushes, and we'll go through some of these. So I'm not a huge user of natural bristle brushes. Some of my favorites are, this is an Annie Sloan brush. She makes beautiful natural bristle brushes. This is also an Annie Sloan brush. They are going to leave more texture. A natural bristle brush is, they're usually made of hog hair. Hog hair is porous because it's a natural fiber. It's literally from hogs. And so they would be a little bit harder to clean. It will deposit a little bit more of the paint onto the surface of your brush. So it just takes a little more time to clean them. Some of mine have a tendency to stain a little bit more. And the bristles will wear down over time. Let me find one that's got some.
Yeah, they take a long time to clean, I know.
Yeah, they do.
I know from experience.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's true, I forgot. So when we went to Australia, Noah did a lot of brush cleaning, and he did a lot of natural bristle brushes. And none of these are too bad. But some of my natural bristle brushes, if I were to compare a new one, no, you can tell that the bristles start wearing down. The tips of the bristles just get dull over time, so eventually they do need to be replaced. But what I love these for, I love these Annie Sloan natural bristle brushes for dry brushing. If you just want to hover over the surface, it's got that nice full, but it's going to just leave some texture. So when I'm dry brushing, I don't want full coverage, right? I want the bristles to skip and hit in different places. So I love these for dry brushing. Beautiful dry brushing with the Annie Sloan's natural bristle brushes. For waxing, I would choose a natural bristle brush. They're a little firmer, so they've got that texture. This would be a beautiful wax brush. And then I would dedicate this brush to waxing, and eventually over time, the bristles start to wear down. Find it, one of my old Annie Sloan brushes.
Don't break anything.
I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure at one time this brush looked like this one. That is an old wax brush, and it's Annie Sloan wax brush. But that is an old wax brush. You can tell it just starts wearing the natural bristles down. Some people like to paint with these. Annie likes to paint with natural bristles when she's doing her paint. That's how she intended it. But she intended it to show brush strokes and texture. And natural bristles are definitely going to leave you more texture because they are coarse. Okay, so that's all of these full bristles. The tips again are just going to be for getting into some of those hard to reach areas, wrapping surfaces like spindles and getting into moldings. The tipped bristles versus this has just kind of a rounded edge on those. I still use this for paint. These are all paint. These are not wax brushes in here. I put these in with my natural bristles just because they're such big brushes. They take up a lot of storage space. I have a variety of these. They're all pretty similar to what I just showed you with the Annie Sloan brush. With all these round brushes, could be used for waxing. I like them for dry brushing. I like them for texture. I also have in here a bunch of chip brushes, natural bristle chip brushes. So in the beginning of this, we put on some stripper, and I used a chip brush. They can be super cheap. Like these are 30 cents at Harbor Freight. The only time I would lay paint on with this is if I was doing texture or, wanted brush strokes. I use these for things like stripper and dry brushing. And, I have a variety of all different types of chip brushes, and I like a variety of them. They can be used for waxes. You can cut them down. Like you can see the bristles on this one here have been cut down, and I can use it for getting wax into a crevice, because they've got a little bit of firmness to the bristles. So these make great wax brushes. Chip brushes are great for wax too. This is just a different handle on a similar brush to this one. So you can see similar tipped bristles with the tipped point on them and just a different size handle. Depending on how you like to hold your brush, you can hold this a little bit more like a palm brush. So this would be good for waxing. Waxing is a lot of arm work, so you want to have a comfortable hold on your brush. Stencil brushes are also natural bristles. So these are stencil brushes. They're shorter. I would use these for dabbing into a stencil, and see how they've got that rigidity on the bristle. So they're not going to push in. I get a little bit more rigidity on there for stencil brushes. So those are some brand new ones.
What's the number of those big old Klingon brushes?
These ones here, this is the B10 and this is the B12, and the difference is size. So the numbers on them, the higher up the number, the larger the brush is. You can see the difference in the size on those. I would say these are pretty interchangeable, whether it's the 10 or the 12. I'd pull out the 10 if my furniture piece was a little bit smaller. The 12 if I'm doing a giant piece with a blend. So say if you need to go blend over the top of a dresser, you need to cover a lot of surface area, and having that big fat brush, but even the side of a piece can usually be a large surface area. So I like that, and the 10 is just a little bit smaller version, but I think they're pretty interchangeable. Let's see, what else would I choose a natural bristle brush for? This is just a lot of chip brushes, a lot of wax brushes, the pointed. Natural bristles, 100%, I'm going to say the same thing over and over again. It's going to be a lot of texture, a lot of brush strokes, waxes, and dry brushing is what I like natural bristles for. Other than that, I would say that the different types of brushes, really the difference comes into what are you painting? What are you trying to get into? Does it make it more convenient for how you like to hold your brush? For areas that you need to get into, you know, where you're like this, trying to get into the corner of a nightstand, or cutting in something with an angled, a chiseled angle, you know, laying off the surface of paint. Gosh, yeah, you start getting into kind of like repeating the same information over and over again. But this is all just different shapes of natural brushes. Some are more firm than others. But I would say of the natural bristles, the ones I use the most are these big full Annie Sloan brushes, are what I use the most. And chip brushes. I use chip brushes all the time. You can never have too many chip brushes for just throwing away. So, I don't know. I hope that was kind of helpful. It's a lot. There's a lot of different brushes out there. I don't even think I covered as many as I was hoping to cover in just that amount of time, and I've been on for almost an hour. So if there's a particular kind of brush, if you're not sure, having a variety is really nice. Like sometimes I just need a little bit smaller brush, and having a variety of sizes is nice, that I can pull out, you know, one of these guys if I'm doing a jewelry box, and I can pull out one of these guys if I'm doing a full-size dresser. So sizes and what you're painting are going to be the biggest difference. Now I need to clean out my brush drawer. But I want to scrape this stripper off here. Except I didn't get out my normal blade, so we're going to use this guy right here. So this stripper has been sitting on for about 45 minutes. I did not cover this in any sort of plastic or anything. And this has heavy latex paint on it. So I can tell right away this is getting through, and I'm going to need to do a second application. My second application should just about do it, because I've got layers of paint on this piece. And that's really normal, especially if I'm using an eco-friendly stripper. Eco-friendly strippers, you get the benefits of not having that harsh odor. It's not going to burn my, it's not going to burn my skin if I touch it. But sometimes I do need to do a second application. But for just sitting on here, this is way more effective than Citrus Strip is. This is Greenie's stripper that we put on in the very beginning of this episode. And I can tell what I was kind of afraid of. I can see from underneath that this has old hardware holes, and I can see the outline of them here. My goal is to get down to the wood on here and see what the wood looks like and what I can do with it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to leave this one as wood. But this stripper will come off nicely. And because it's eco-friendly, it's not soybean oil based, I don't have to feel bad about discarding this. Even though it's got that latex paint in it now. So this is going to take me another application, but I can see my wood. I got the first glimpse of my wood under here, and that was in about 40 minutes with no plastic on the top, nothing done. So all I'll do for here is put another application on, and that will cut through the second layer of paint that I got on here. It's just really thick old latex paint. That's going to be a fun project.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
Chemically stripping is never in place of sanding. It's always in addition to sanding. So if I would have to sand through, this probably has 3 layers of paint on it. It would take me hours of sanding. This will be much faster, but once I strip this, I'll need to clean it to neutralize the stripper and clean any residue off, and then I'm going to have to still sand it. So it's in addition to sanding, not in place of sanding. So that's a project I've got coming up. Can't wait for that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, you guys, tell Noah thank you for helping us out tonight and reading your guys' questions. I'll go back and read through them all too. If there's a brush that I didn't cover tonight and you guys aren't sure what it could be for, I have some good graphics that I can share with you guys that you can save and kind of keep in your pocket. You know, a good universal brush. I feel like I really like a flat 2-inch sash brush is my most used brush in a really soft synthetic bristle. Most used by far. Your painting style can determine what type of brush you use. You know, I'll give you an example. Kasha paints with a lot of Annie Sloan paint, which is meant to have that randomness in the brush strokes, and you almost get a smooth effect out of the randomness because the brush strokes getting lost in the randomness. And she uses this natural bristle brush, which is a very textured bristle. Clean your brushes well. Don't let them dry with your paint in them, and you will get lifespans out of them. They will last forever. A good quality brush will last forever. This is a zebra brush, and I feel like this one is on the edge of probably needing to be tossed. It's frayed. It's dirty so much so that the bristles are kind of, I don't know, built up. I just don't think this one would clean well anymore. But it's like a, you know, these are less expensive in the $10 and under range. If I have to throw this away, I'm not as sad about it. But that's kind of the difference that I feel like if you're going to be painting long-term multiple pieces, it's worth it to have the high-end brushes that I use.
Sherry, I got her a gift for Mother's Day. She gets to come watch me play water polo all day.
That is what we were doing all weekend. So first of all, Noah is going on a camping trip tomorrow night with like 30 guys up to some friends' acreage, and they're going to all camp out, and like we're going to do cookout and bonfire, and so I'm going to go up there with another mom and help her serve to the kids, and he's going on a camp out. Then Saturday we have a swim meet, and Sunday we have a water polo tournament. That's the love I get from my kids is, Mom, please drive me places and cater to me.
Oh yeah.
But you guys, my kids are my why. They are why I do this in the first place. And so there is no place I'd rather be on Mother's Day than watching them do what they love to do.
Wait, who are you again? I forgot what your name.
All right, you guys. So everyone, I hope you guys have a happy Mother's Day. You guys spend it with your family, doing something that you love. Appreciate your moms. I've got a special post to share with you guys. For a special mom I celebrated in my life. So I'll share that post with you guys on Mother's Day. I got to choose someone and share a gift from my friends at Cozy Earth, and their beautiful products. They make beautiful high-end linens, and so I shared that with a special mom in my life that I can't wait to show you guys a cute video about that. And so yeah, we'll celebrate Mother's Day too, and everybody, I don't know, really enjoy that day. It's a special day. I do have a YouTube video coming out on my YouTube channel for next week, so subscribe there if you don't already. And I will be at the Painters Business Academy June 28th through 30th in the Atlanta, Georgia area, Lake Lanier Island. You can use code BrandyPBA for a discount at checkout off your tickets. Those tickets are available now. There are day tickets available if you don't want to stay at the lodging, but there are tickets that include all of your lodging. It includes breakfast and lunch with hands-on painting tutorials, demonstrations, all kinds of stuff from, it's a multi-brand event, so you'll get to see multiple brands being used in one place. Sherry's going to be there. I know Sherry will be there.
Huh?
Yeah. Noah's jealous now. He can't go because you guys have, guess what? A water polo tournament that weekend.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. All right, you guys, I'm going to pop off. Everybody have a safe and happy weekend, and thank you guys so much for hanging out with us and talking brushes tonight. I wish I could have covered more because there's so much more information, and still I feel like I talked way too much tonight.
All right, hold up. We got one more question. What is your YouTube name?
My YouTube name or your YouTube name?
Yours.
I
don't have a YouTube.
I am Brushed by Brandy on YouTube. Oh, yeah, you don't. You used to have a YouTube channel a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now we need to start your social media pages for your water polo.
Oh, that'll be sweet.
Yeah, we're looking at that stuff. He needs a water polo page. Noah did just finish swimming in the section finals for our region. Like he went as high as the regional finals. And now the state championships are coming up for swim. That was some seniors made it to the state championships, but
Senior.
yeah.
Only one made it.
Christian and Cohen didn't make it?
Cohen did. I
Oh,
know
only
Cohen
Cohen?
did.
I thought they both did.
Maybe Christian did. I'm not sure. We'll find that out later.
Yeah, two guys in the
Maybe
entire
two,
school.
maybe one. We'll
And
figure it out.
how many people was your swim team?
The swim team,
50?
I think, started out at 50.
Yeah, two guys made it to state. Noah got to the regionals, which was amazing because it's his first time ever participating in a swim team even. So to make it that far was phenomenal. So he should earn a couple varsity letters from school this year for athletics, which is like, he's a sophomore, so that's an accomplishment. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out and celebrating all this stuff. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. I hope you guys get to spend it doing something that you're happy doing, like painting. And I will catch you guys next Thursday.
All right.
So
Come on, there we go.